just before this show went live, and it was a very unfortunate timing. That's why I went live a little later than Mr. Washburn might have wanted me to. I was in the unofficial content creator Discord, and Steven popped in for our meeting, and he was giving a little bit of chat, giving some information, giving a little bit of speech, and he gives a speech, and I recorded it, and I got from him permission to play the recording, and I did start it a little late, so we will start in a little late. But this is Steven's message and speech and some chat about the official content creator program, what they envision it from, and a bunch of stuff like that. I'm just going to play the first part because then it gets a little more nitty gritty. The first part basically just covers his message, and so this is a great thing for all you content creators out there, kind of on what he's looking for and what they're looking for. So here we go.
What objectives are of a content creator, it's like twofold in my opinion. One is to educate your audiences on what Ashes of Creation is, where it's at in the process. The other thing would be to help channel feedback, right? It's one thing for people to come and say, oh, this is trash, or oh my god, I love it. But like as a content creator, either channeling the rage or the praise and into actionable feedback slash constructive criticisms. I think that's also the important thing. So educating and channeling, I think, are like the two primary roles. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of like overhyping or white knighting or whatever. I do see, and I would kind of express this to content creators who want to create content around Ashes of Creation and the development. Positivity from at least a support standpoint, like, that's a very valuable thing to the development process. People may not know or think this, but there are real human beings behind the screen on the development side. And while you guys are creating content for your audience, it also is being created and being seen by the developers. So it can be a very motivating or demotivating thing if they see someone that they like or content that they watch on the regular. So just kind of keep that in mind. You're not just creating content for the audience of vast sea of players out there. Your content's going to be seen by the studio as well. Yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, kind of the feedback I'd have. I don't know if you have specific questions you can ask him.
I got 2 questions.
Yes.
Does Steven's rule still apply?
What's that? Where I can single out?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. And secondly, just to like for me personally, it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what you guys are looking for. So on the one side, you just pretty much stated what you said back when the whole "it's this" thing happened. You don't want white knights. Yeah, exactly. And
boy,
then
was that a nightmare for those of you.
Okay, so Malding Simp, just to clarify for you, Steven's rule is something from the old original content creator program. It was something where Steven could basically override any decision. So if you didn't meet the official, amount of subscribers that they had set out or whatever it is, if Steven thinks you are a good fit for the program, he can basically override anyone.
Don't know the it's
and I think that's
right?
good, right?
Just make sure we put that in context since you referenced it, BCG. But essentially, I really enjoyed Itz's content. I thought it was relatively fair balanced. He gave his opinions in a constructive way for the most part, and he also, expressed the reasons why he liked things he likes and didn't like the things he didn't like. But generally, it was relatively rooted in something that I felt was pretty middle of the road. But then Itziz, as a player, became upset with the direction that we chose from a development standpoint to take with APOC and the benefits that we internally and tried to externally explain were around the APOC testing idea for having that testing earlier on in development rather than having it later when the full alpha 1 is available and ready to test and stuff. But he allowed that kind of being upset about that to be manifested into what was direct falsities, right? He went out and he was on a podcast and he said, like, they're not working on the MMO. Okay, well, you've established an audience and now you've violated the first rule, which is educating that audience. And you've actually miseducated them. And then that has a reverberating effect that goes out throughout the gaming circles. So by all means, if you want to make that type of content, you can, but you're not going to do so under an official content creator title. Because what does it say to my team that we're sponsoring an individual to literally lie about what we are all spending countless hours doing? And he just went off the deep end there, and it was unfortunate. And I hate to see that happen because honestly, I like I said, I enjoyed his content. But just to give context, what BCG was talking about.
So this molding, he was going over this a little earlier, but it was a whole dramatic thing where a guy in the official content creator program got kicked out of it because he just went on a crazy emotional rampage about how much he hated APOC and how Intrepid was going to fail, and basically it was just he was toxic. And Thane, were you around for this?
Oh yeah, I was very much around for I guess what we'll call the fall of Death's Proxy and Itz's. And it was really a shame to watch because kind of like Steven, I liked both of their content. I thought they both did a really good job. I thought that they were realistic without being overhyped. I thought that they weren't necessarily white knights. They were critical in spots they need to be critical. But I do remember that was a dark time for anyone that's been a long
Absolutely.
time Ashes of Creation follower. The APOC, like, oh my god, they took $3.3 million and they just made a cheap battle royale. That was a very dark time without really knowing. Now, I'm always gonna say this, and this was my criticism of Intrepid during that time. I do not think they were as communicative and as transparent as they could have been about why they were creating APOC and what the purpose of APOC was. They did have eyes on it. Shroud was playing APOC. He was playing APOC. I mean, when you get Shroud playing your game, killing people, you should be very communicative as to what the point of this was. The other thing is the fact that Itz's got to the mental place of they're not working on the MMO means that I think communication back then between their official CCs and their team was not as open as it could have been.
Mm-hmm. All right, and we have about 4 more minutes, and as I said, I think he was in there for about 20 minutes total, but I think the next 4 minutes are still valuable information, and then we'll have an open discussion about all of it.
Good. Okay. So after Steven just explained that, so what I want to know now is because this is just maybe me because I used to have the same position as Margaret at my old studio, and you guys have used the word brand ambassador. So now my question is, if you had somebody like me and in the past, my content, Lord of Salt thing, that whole stuff, and I always came from a point of view from a fan, right? Sometimes I not gonna lie about it, I was a little bit frustrated, made videos about it, and but I still always try to, how do I say this, support the project the best way I could. Now, from
I think.
now from
Yeah, go ahead.
now from your point of view, is that something you guys are looking forward to, like the level of honesty and or personal opinion in regards to the project, or are you guys looking more towards I don't know, like something more positive than that?
Well, I don't want to say necessarily positive or negative, right? I think that balanced coverage can be both. I think balanced coverage is always positive, even when you're talking negatively about something you dislike, as long as you're talking in a way that is constructive and how to get from point A to B, in your opinion. I think that that's a good way to channel it. Again, education and channeling. Channeling is not just channeling the thoughts and opinions of your community and your audience, but also channeling your own thoughts and your own opinions, right? So it's one thing to create a quote unquote hit piece or negative piece and, just rail on something without giving a solution on how to get from here to there, right? That's I think a very important thing. As I said, I'm not all about ultra positive or ultra white knighty. I see the value in providing coverage that is equal and balanced, right? As long as that coverage is intended to help the project and constructive over the direction of the project. And keeping in mind, like, the demographic of gamers, even amongst the content creator groups out there, is a very eclectic one, and they have many different opinions on things. There are people who like action. There are people who like tab. There are people who like storylines. There are people who like PvP. So it's just a shit ton of interest that exists within the MMORPG community. So while your thoughts and opinions might be servicing a particular segment of those groups, you're going to have people who disagree with you. And another thing I would say, when you're asking about like what does a content creator seek to, excuse me, when you're asking what does a brand ambassador mean exactly, the brand that I think Ashes endeavors to be is a brand that takes into consideration feedback from the community, and something that I think is aiming to respect the player base with the idea of transparency. So when you're representing that brand, you can create content around Ashes of Creation without being an official content creator. And if that content you want to make is just, railing on the game or the project or whatever, then by all means, that's your prerogative. But if you're wanting to do it under the official content creator title and get the benefits from the company of doing so, you need to make sure that the commentary is presented in such a way that is actionable and constructive, and not just a downer, so to speak, right? And the other thing I would say is there's a sense of responsibility in representing Ashes of Creation as an official content creator, and that responsibility is making sure that you're on the ball. Sometimes we could drop the ball, but before you make content, before you make a video, before you jump on a stream, and if you're in a heightened mood or you have some emotional response, like take a second, take a breath, collect your thoughts, plan it out, and see how you can achieve both of the goals of educating and channeling that raw emotion. Like that's what I would say. And as long as you're doing that, you are representing the brand.
But yeah, I guess the question is, as I said, this happened 40 minutes ago. So this is brand new information. What are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, I think it's good, right? I think that this is something that I have always said, and I know that we have content creators that are not hitting this level, because I try to come from a place of empathy in everything I do, and I think empathetically, okay, if I had a studio, what would I look for in a content creator? Someone who isn't necessarily white knighting things, because white knighting doesn't help either. White knighting is just as bad as negativity. It's all going to work out is just as bad as nothing is going to work. You got to really think critically about things, and it's why I personally love theory crafting. Bartik, this ad nauseum that I love theory crafting and sitting there. And I think one time I'm like, I was talking about the monster token system on stream, and we were talking, and we got into this like 3-hour talk of how it's going to work, how it can be gamed. And then I typed up the whole thing of how we're going to game it and sent it to Toast. I hope that was received as not criticism, but as positive feedback of, as a gamer, we always find the way to break the system, right, guys? We all know. We always
that's the point,
Super's
right?
into trading. Super's into trading card games. I know he breaks the system on a constant basis. So it's white knighting and saying this is okay, this is going to be great, is bad, because it's not giving the constructive feedback that you actually need. Saying everything's bad and it's awful and going down the road of someone like Ziz is bad as well, because it's not giving the feedback that they need. You want to kind of shape the game. And I take that, when I backed this in Kickstarter, I said, this is great. It's transparent. We're actually getting a company that is responsive to feedback. And I think you guys have noticed, and I've mentioned it before, the fireball animation, where everyone was like, we don't really like the fireball animation. It feels kind of bad. And Intrepid was like, you're right. Boom. And we've changed it. And you can say, the fireball animation feels bad, and here's why. And that's the, appropriate, mature way to say it. You can also say, this is dumb. Why would you even create a fireball animation that way? Oh my God. Have you guys even ever played games? And you can just get all hyped and really emotional about it. So I love where Steven's coming from this. I think it's just super. I think it's important for sure.
Yeah. You have anything, Super?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of echoing here. I mean, a lot of this stuff is, and he alluded to it. I mean, if not damn near just straight up said it. I mean, you're not just representing yourself in your stream at that point. When you hold the official content creator title, you are now representing Intrepid, and and Ashes of Creation. And I do not fault him at all for wanting to make sure that those people are not just straight up toxic assholes. Like it's just. I mean, it's like, I mean, and maybe this resonates a little bit more for me, but I mean, even within the military, you can't go to, rallies in your uniform. You can only represent yourself, but the moment you have your uniform on, you're no longer just representing yourself. And I see it the same way as the content creator tag. Once you have that on your stream, once you are labeled as an official content creator, you're no longer representing yourself. And so making sure that you're not just having people who are going to go on emotional tirades and just be absolutely ridiculous, like we've seen, I think is important. And one of the things that both in the military and outside of the military, you'll hear me reference that a lot. Sorry, but is it's okay to bring concerns forward, but if you don't have a proposed change to that concern, then all you are is just another voice throwing random shit out there. Now, if you come to me and say, "Hey, I have a problem with this, and here's a proposed solution to fix it, or here's another way to go about it," then you're opening up a dialogue. Then you're having a conversation. But if you're just doing the tweet, the Facebook comment, the whatever, and just throwing something out there and going, "Oh, I showed them," like it doesn't actually give productive change. I mean, you reference the fireball, we can reference something even sooner. The having to sit there and just hit Q constantly over and over and over again while we're testing.
Yeah.
That was a huge point of complaint on the weekend of testing. Fixed. Done. You can now hold it down.
Yeah.
Are there better iterations for it? Sure. I mean, I think I watched an interesting video today. I can't remember who posted it, but just about auto attacks and whatnot. But anyways, I digress. It's he is listening. They are listening. And when it comes to the content creator stuff, having the official content creators understand that, they're not dealing with people who aren't being receptive to feedback. And so if you have an opinion, voice it, but voice it in a way that is productive to the company in the game.
Well, here's the thing. We're all equating this to the official content creator program right now, but so many people in life don't realize that's how you should live your life. Like
Absolutely.
you are officially representing
100.
yourself. You need to be understanding. You need to see both sides of it. It's okay to express opinions, but there's no reason to get overly emotional, to basically go on tirades, to disrespect other people. And that's kind of what he was saying, right? In the aspect of, we are a development studio. We have feelings too. Yes, we get a lot of love and support, but to hear anyone going out there and just absolutely bashing us when, like, they're not intentionally, a scam, right? I'll say this right now. Like, there is a difference between delivering what they're trying to deliver. We don't know if we're actually going to get that game. It's a huge project. There's a good chance we won't get everything. I have faith that it will happen, but there's a different topic between whether we're going to get that game or if they're an outright scam. And just going out and saying they're a scam. It's like, Steven's put in like what? At least 30 million. I've heard numbers of like $45 million of his own money. He's a businessman. He is not literally just going to lose $45 million of his own money and just move on and be like, all right, well, yeah, we screwed up there. It's like, no, he's going to do everything in his power to make this succeed. So that gives me faith. Just realizing that. Thank you for the follows and subscriptions. Sorry to interrupt there. Just realizing that, like, this isn't just a content creator. It's how you should live your life in general. But I do get that the drama aspect sells, right? The reality TV aspect, the playing a character, the being overly negative, like, some people just feed off of that. But that's not the community we're trying to develop here, right?